Hey, welcome in to another Friday here on Unemployed. We have now made it an entire month, Jack. Jack Mitchell joins as always on Feedback Friday. I should probably point that out before I just say Jack, just in case anyone doesn't know
That's
who
good.
he is. But
That's
yeah,
good.
it's been an entire month of being unemployed from 12 to 1. And I dare I say it has been a ton of fun. I hope those that have participated along watching as we stream from 12 to 1, or if you catch it later, you catch it on the podcast. If you only see random clips that appear online, if you haven't paid attention at all and will never hear this, thank you. It's been a fun month. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, and let me give you some early feedback. I think you're going through your ear pods instead of your microphone in terms of your sound right now.
You
So
might explain why the sound is off in every way, shape,
that,
or form.
this is the true spirit of Feedback Friday, and it might not always be positive. It might be very constructive. It might end up making the situation better for everyone, and that's what I'm trying to do.
How does it sound now?
Oh my gosh,
velvety
feedback success. This is how
Look at
constructive and
Look at
critical
that.
feedback works. It makes life better for everyone. That's why I love it so much. Now,
Speaking of
give me some.
constructive feedback, Nebraska fans in basketball offered plenty of feedback this week to various entities, whether they be broadcasters, whether they be Twitter accounts that do foul audits, whether they be, whatever happened with CBS Sports yesterday, whether they be my cohort in the mornings on 1620, Connor Happer received quite a bit of Connie Happer. Yeah. Connor Happer received quite a bit of feedback, for a thought or two he might have had. A lot of feedback this week. It's been a big feedback week. We'll dive into that. But I don't want to start there. I want to start here. Jack, on Sunday, Nebraska will have in its building a matchup of two top 10 basketball teams. We'll be coming off of a highly anticipated game in which it could not have had a more shorthanded experience or represented itself better, even in a loss in the game against Michigan. And we'll be taking on a team that is on fire. I mean, they've won every game they played since losing to Nebraska in their own building in December. What is your anticipation level for Sunday's game? And will you be in attendance, or do you have something else that will take you somewhere else for Sunday?
Well, okay. Let's see. I'll start with the last question first. I will not be in attendance, not because I am not, wanting to go or not able to go. It turns out that it is getting harder to get tickets to Nebraska basketball games. And so I am without any access and any ticket once again. And I found myself in that place a lot more than I have been for the many previous seasons. It used to be fairly easy for me to get tickets to most games. I'm hoping maybe to get to PBA a couple of more times this year, but I will not be there for Illinois. I will not be there for Purdue. Maybe Maryland, maybe Northwestern. We'll see. Be nice if I get there for Iowa. I think I'm going to get there for Iowa. But that's the first part. My anticipation. Well, if you had asked me this question a half hour earlier, it might be a slightly different result or a slightly different answer. But I did just note that Fred Hoiberg today said that Braden Frager and Rank Mast will both be game time decisions. And it didn't necessarily sound good that they're going to play against Illinois.
I thought I saw with Rink Mass that he had gone through everything on Friday and that they were feeling good there. Frager very much. And we have to be honest. I mean, Frager's injury was one in which it felt like the Illinois game was what you were targeting. It wasn't an assurance that he was going to be there. Obviously, you would love to have him play, but again, same situation as Michigan. You want him to be 100% when he comes back. You don't need to rush him out there for any of these contests right now because the end goal is later in the year, however tantalizing it would be to have him available. As far as Rink Mass goes, I anticipate he's going to be playing on on Sunday. He did have to undergo some testing and everything when he got back from Michigan for severe dehydration.
He went to the emergency room.
Yeah, I mean he was struggling quite a bit.
I mean, I've got what notes he did some. So he went to the emergency room, got back really early Thursday, did very early non-contact drills on Friday. They will now monitor his progress and determine what his status is for Sunday. So I appreciate your optimism. I do not share that based on what I've heard in the last hour or so.
I would be shocked if he doesn't play on Sunday. I really would. We'll see. And I don't know what the status 100% is for him physically, if he's lost a lot of strength and if he's still
he's lost a bunch of weight, they said.
Yeah. So we shall see on that. But I anticipate he will give it a go on Sunday against Illinois. Frager, we will see. This all independent of everything else, still a top 10 matchup for Nebraska. Pinnacle Bank Arena will absolutely be buzzing. Nebraska's out both of these guys on Tuesday in a game that most people felt like, even at full strength, Nebraska was a 10.5 point underdog. And maybe it wouldn't have been that if Frager was available, but Vegas had no idea that Rink Master was under the weather when that line came out. The general belief was that Michigan was on a tier above Nebraska. That proved to not be true at all. And I remain pretty optimistic for Nebraska on Sunday. We shall see. Certainly it changes the calculus if you weren't to have Frager, and then definitely if you weren't to have Mass. It is kind of fascinating, though. They had a lineup out there that didn't have either of those guys, and they were just really giving Michigan fits with Cale Jacobson, whose emergence this year, it was kind of a running joke, Jack, during the Crown, but his emergence this year as a absolute glue guy, the second guy off of the bench behind Frager, someone who can play 1 through 5, which I think shouldn't be underestimated, just what that means to this team. I mean, he has been really, really impressive, and it's kind of wild to think how valuable he is for this whole operation, especially when you lost the season early in the year. You haven't had Oogie at all, and I don't think that you will. I think the ship has largely sailed on that. He's away from the team with the flu, which is, extremely valuable in its own sense because you don't want anyone else to get sick. But what Cale Jacobson has done, and he jumped past Kendall Blue, who I think quite a few of us thought would at the very least be part of the rotation. I mean, Cale Jacobson was a monster for Nebraska against Michigan. And if Rink Mass can't go, they're going to need him in a variety of ways on Sunday.
Yeah, he again came through in a way that I didn't know that I expected that he would be able to against Michigan, both defensively, especially defensively, but offensively as well. It's still, I don't mean this as a critique, but he feels like he will still go between sort of two versions of himself. There's still a little bit, sometimes you'll see him, especially on the offensive end or even defensively in the first half of the Minnesota game, where he just seems tentative. You didn't see a lot of that against Michigan because I don't think you really had a choice during the Michigan game. There were not nearly as many options. And when he's forced to just say, okay, I gotta remember what it was like playing high school basketball and treat this, like I'm in an Ashland Greenwood game and gonna expect to put up 20 points in the game. It feels like once he gets that mindset, he can play and he can deliver like that. I still see him bouncing around a little bit though in terms of tentativeness, but that's happening less. I will say that it's happening less. And the Michigan game, I thought, was kind of the peak of his play so far this year. I did not expect them to get what they got from him in that game. I did not expect him to make some of the moves that he did in that game. I've watched the little, whatever it was, the quick pivot, fast right layup with the left that he made against Michigan's big guy time after time. Like it's a play we haven't seen him make very often. And so, yeah, he will be him continuing to do that if they are at all shorthanded, or even if they're not. If he can plug that in when they are, just playing regularly the rest of the year, I think they can still take a step forward from where they've been.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the thing that we saw on Tuesday night is like you could call it the Isaiah Roby effect. Does Nebraska basketball know how good it can be? There seems to be more levels for it to go, and I think a lot of us thought they were playing at their ceiling, and I don't think that's really the case. I mean, they have been so effortless and casually brutal to these teams that they have just kind of put away that we haven't seen it all completely come together. And we saw portions of that in the first half where they didn't even have, their best, not best, but some of their best players available to them. And against a Michigan team that was able to match them in the first half, but also was searching for answers for how to slow anything down. And then, got two entirely different games, as it often happens in the Big Ten. And Nebraska struggled when the legs left them. I mean, you could see with Peyton Sandfort in particular, those shots just didn't have the same range with it. He just didn't have the same, lift with his jumping. So hopefully, with it being a Tuesday game against Michigan, guys like Sandfort and Lawrence, who played a lot of minutes, Bear K, Sam, all of them, Kale, they're all able to find a little bit of rest here this week, and so they can be relatively fresh, or as fresh as you can be at this stage of the season when you're taking on Illinois on February 1st. I mean, Jack, I don't have to explain to you, as someone who has mastered the art at looking at schedules and plausible scenarios and determining what needs to happen, a win on Sunday would strengthen Nebraska's chances to win the Big Ten title in a way that is very, very hard to even imagine, but also just like at that point, it feels like it's them or Michigan, given the way the rest of the schedule plays out for everybody else. To say that Sunday's game is a must win for Illinois probably undersells it, because they can't afford to lose this tiebreaker to Nebraska, and they still have games with Michigan and Michigan State remaining. And so if you're Nebraska, you can take the full tiebreaker against both Michigan State and Illinois, while those three teams all play each other to the tune of, I believe, 4 or 5 times in the next 6 weeks or so. Mm-hmm. And meanwhile, you have your matchup with Purdue and some tough games with Iowa and USC and UCLA. But then you also get 4 games against, what Ice Young was trying to say when she said that Nebraska hadn't played anybody in the Big Ten. If you don't know who Ice Young is, congratulations. You joined the rest of us.
I didn't until about 3:45 p.m. yesterday, and then I definitely
But she has learned the full effect of Nebraska basketball's fandom, and we can dive into that a little bit. But yeah, I mean, this is I don't know, as this thing got going, I don't know at any point until maybe a week or so ago when I asked you the hypothetical of Big Ten tournament title and what was I don't even remember what
it was. It was number 1 in the nation.
Yeah, the ranking thing,
Big Ten tournament,
Big Ten tournament title, and then someone else had thrown in an email when this had come up, regular season title, which everybody would take. I hadn't even really considered that idea, and now I'm like fixated on it. Now I want it as much as I want anything that I've ever wanted in my life before.
And I think it weighs in more in the NCAA tournament seating decisions, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, you win the Big Ten title, you're probably
any of the other ones.
I don't see how you're not.
Just to like glom on even more to how important this game is, and you talked about from the Illinois standpoint. And by the way, I just pulled up the Big Ten standings. If anyone hasn't looked lately, you've got a 4-way tie by record at the top between Nebraska, Michigan, Michigan State, and Illinois. You've essentially got a little mini tournament this weekend between those top 4 teams, because tonight, how about this? Some Friday night Big Ten basketball that I'm weirdly interested in. What a blessing on a Friday night in January. I'm psyched up.
Are you? I assume you're rooting for Michigan State because
100%
Nebraska has
Michigan State.
The tiebreaker there.
Number 1 for Michigan State because Nebraska has the tiebreaker. Number 2 because I'm very annoyed with Michigan fans right now, and I'd love to see them lose. Number
3, you had that jacket from Stephen Barry's.
I had that jacket from Stephen Barry's, and so deep down, I'm a Spartan deep down, I suppose. No, I think I want to see Michigan State win that game. I think mainly, I mean, the biggest reason is, and because Michigan has this perception as a 1 seed, and Michigan State does not at this point. And so it does more damage just in the Michigan State's still got to kind of catch up to Nebraska to some degrees, and this would go a ways toward that. So you've got that, but in terms of the importance for Illinois, yeah, they get 2 losses, and they're essentially then 2 games behind Nebraska in the standings. And then the winner of that Michigan State game, it's kind of like the 2 winners of those games really step into the front of the conference and the lead to win the conference number 1. But there's more to it than that, too. Illinois, specifically the Illinois game. And by the way, after you get through the 9-1 teams, you've got Purdue 7-3, Wisconsin 7-3, UCLA 7-3. And that's Purdue, 3 losses in a row. Crazy. And like Purdue is going to be coming into that game in Lincoln after they go to Maryland tomorrow or on Sunday, that is. And so that should be a win. And then they've got Oregon at home. So they should pick up 2 wins and get back into it. But that at the moment looks different than we thought that it would. That'll still be a huge challenge, though. It's obviously a very good team with one of the best players in the country on it. Other reasons the Illinois game, though, is important for Nebraska. Conference standings, but also NCAA tournament seedings as well. And in particular, Illinois has double value in that conversation for Nebraska. Again, as someone who really, really is pulling for this tournament location for Nebraska in the first and second round to be St. Louis or Oklahoma City, Illinois is in that group of teams that, if rated ahead of Nebraska, would take one of those slots. They would go to St. Louis. I would expect they would go to St. Louis. And so you can say the same about a handful of teams. Iowa State, I guess if Kansas moved up, Houston, Texas Tech. I'm forgetting a few, but there's about 7-ish teams or so that if they would fall down, it helps Nebraska also drop further, like if they would get to a 3 seed and still have a decent shot at playing at those locations. And so all of those reasons make this as big a game as you could get for Nebraska to win this game. And as far as the original question in terms of the atmosphere, yeah, it's already been great at all of the games so far, but I feel like, Mike, this game is going to include a little bit of an edge in the crowd that might not have been there before. After that, I think it's a frustrated, hungry fan base right now that I think probably does, for right or for wrong, maybe feel a little disrespected. I can't say I felt that way that much as a fan coming into it, but some of the stuff after Michigan has started to get me to that point. And the way that game went down
for you, normally you're at that point when you wake up in the morning.
Not with. I'm just different with Nebraska basketball.
Sure,
and I'm just different with Nebraska basketball, and the way that just the frustration, the way that game ended, the controversial call at the end, everything about, and the way it's been talked about afterwards. And I'll get to that, I think, later in the show today as well. So yeah, and then a 3:00 start time, Mike, on a Sunday couldn't be a better time.
With nothing else going on.
Nothing else going on.
There's no NFL. There's no other bigger basketball game.
Correct.
It is a monumental thing going on. And then you touched on it. There's definitely frustration with people with how things played out on Tuesday because they felt like Nebraska didn't receive their just rewards for how they played, and that the police escort to the official escort to the free throw line that Michigan received over and over and over on Tuesday took away from what was a quality game from Nebraska. And I think it leads to that atmosphere. I think it leads to there's going to be some lusty blue or just booing every time Brad Underwood calls over an official. When the officials take the floor, I anticipate booing. Every time one of them blows their whistle, booing. It might be good for Nebraska. The Zebras are still going to get booed, and frankly, they should. It's long overdue. They're terrible at what they do. This is truism throughout college basketball. I'm not saying it's going to be better in any other conference, but we have watched more than enough games at Nebraska where the alleged home whistle that happens doesn't happen in Lincoln. It won't on Sunday. I promise you that already.
I know.
Condition everyone for it. Prepare for Illinois to take 15 more free throws. Prepare for people to tell you that Nebraska's style doesn't allow for them to have the opportunity to take free throws, as if, holding space when you're getting a rebound didn't happen.
Right. That's where those
Ann Arbor.
Those were the ones that were. Those were the ones. It wasn't about Nebraska on offense
Offense.
or Michigan on offense, it was on the boards when the ones that really
it was
flipped that
really
they were
hard to
called.
explain to people that you're not upset because of fouls that were called necessarily. You're upset because normally when you get told that someone's style is why they're going to the free throw line, it's not because they're jumping over your back, grabbing every rebound when you have actual position. And I understand over the back is not a real call in basketball, but you're still awarded the space that's in front of you, and you're not allowed to be jumped on or used as leverage.
Or at very least, you're not committing a foul in those scenarios when you've got position and they go over top you because of size and get it to call the foul on. Those were the ones I know that got buried, I think, in the whole foul discussion. But to your larger point, yes, yes to all of that. There'll be an edge about the officiating. There'll be an edge about Illinois because, unlike, I suppose maybe some people won't like say this about Tom Izzo, but like he has some level of like comic likability to him. Brad Underwood seems like if you made a list of
there's a comic villain,
Big Ten coaches you'd least like to have a beer with, he'd be number one on that ranking. Just seem, and then Illinois and Nebraska
who else is in your round out your top three there? Who do
top
you not,
three
like,
least likely to? Well,
Mick Cronin's got to be in that.
Mick Cronin definitely can't be fun.
Which I used to not have any real strong. If anything, I was probably pro Mick Cronin when he first went to UCLA. Now, years of just whining and sort of being a tiny little bitch, which is, I think, a good description of Mick Cronin. I just don't care for him at all.
No.
I'm fine with UCLA as a program, but Mick Cronin himself is just like, man, like you aren't God's gift to basketball. You're just a guy who coaches UCLA. Be happy that your college can even survive to pay you with the financial straits that they're in. The reason you're in this conference is so you can afford to even have a basketball program. So shut up, get on the plane and go out to Rutgers, come home, get on the plane and go to Oregon and do what everybody else in the conference does.
Yes to all of that. In terms of the others who I would not like to have a beer with, I mean, at least Dana Altman, we would have some like Nebraska-centric stuff to discuss, although it doesn't feel like that would be a real dynamic situation. Dusty May, in the middle somewhere. I think Nico would be good. I feel like Nico would be good.
Over a bunch because, when you had Fran, it was easy. When Richard Pitino was there, it was easy. Now it's kind of like I don't have any strong thoughts on Ben McCollum.
Or yes, for sure. Or Jake Diebler.
Yeah. Steve. I mean, do I care about Steve Pikiell? Not really.
No, there's a lot. You know what? It is interesting. I hadn't even thought of it, but sort of like the big personalities of Big Ten basketball coaching.
Quieter conference now.
It is a lot quieter now that you've had some of the moves that have happened over the last few years.
It's really Brad Underwood, Mick Cronin, and then just kind of, I don't have any problem with Matt Painter. I think some people
I don't either
take some issue.
No, I don't. He seems like a nice guy. Sorry, Tommy Way.
I mean, Darren DeVries, however it's pronounced. I guess I
think Eric Musselman would be interesting. I think he would be an interesting guy.
Yeah. So you would have a beer with him?
Yes, I would. He's not on the bottom.
You guys would talk shit about Mick Cronin? Is that what I understand?
That's probably what we would do. Yeah. We talk about how Eric Musselman used to always go when he was like an assistant for the Hawks on the Jim Rome show back like 20 years ago. He was like a regular guest as an assistant NBA coach.
All right. I was going to spend some time on all the stuff that had happened this week with Nebraska online, but we'll get to that a little bit later. I do want to get to some Big Ten schedule news. We don't have to spend a lot of time on this. It's a couple days old. What were your impressions when the schedule came out for Nebraska for football in 2026? How do you feel right now about their chances to at least repeat the last 2 years at 7-6?
People are going to hate me. I'm about to start making people mad. I look after it came out. Now I knew who the opponents were. Okay. Mm-hmm. We all knew who the opponents were going to be. But when it was put in order, okay, and I looked and I kind of went through it. Do you know what I said?
Could have been worse.
I thought it was going to look worse than that.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to look and feel more impending than it does. Now, lots of caveats to that, but that was my first reaction, Mike. After all I had been hyped up for just this gauntlet of a death schedule, there are certainly, I mean, Indiana, Oregon, back-to-back, yes, not something you would choose for certain. But, I mean, there's certainly a scenario where if Nebraska improves from where they were last year, and whether that happens remains to be seen, but I think it's insane to say 5-0 is off the table at this point. And what I really thought was, Mike, was that, you know what this looks like every other season under Matt Rule is what it feels like it's leading to. You have a solid first half of the season, probably bolstered by a schedule that's helpful to it. And then you're trying to get the one more win, whether it's for bowl eligibility or whether it's to move up, with your bowl status or to get into some kind of conference position. And then getting a single win takes a month or more. That's what it looks like. And that's what every single one of the seasons has looked like, essentially.
Yeah, I think that's fair, astute. I look at it where of how things have played out. The thing is, if they can take care of those first 5 games, and that's an if, it's definitely an if. That's not a guarantee by any means. But you have that opportunity to kind of work out some of the things of your team, get that defense to the point where, have it how Rob Arch wants it, and you can sort of figure out what this offensive line can do. It allows Tony Calandria or Anthony Calandria. We call him Tony in the morning show. Okay. Nobody knows if that's
Tony.
We're relatively close with him. We can do such a thing, but it allows you to figure out what you have there. I like it from that sense. It also, if Nebraska is going to do anything with Matt Rule in year 4, you do have pockets of opportunity. You have that 5-game start. So if you can start 5-0, then you get your 5-0 and you have Indiana coming home. Like, this is what Indiana did to everybody in 2024. They started off with a bunch of sloughs, and then they just continued playing really good football and made teams kind of recognize, like, oh, hey, there's something here. Now, I don't think Dana Holgorsen has that in his offensive bag. I actually think that Dana Holgorsen might be a problem for Nebraska, but whatever. So they at least start with that, the Indiana, Oregon back-to-back, whatever. Then you get your bye week that sets you up for what is a huge game against Washington. I think that stretch of the schedule where it's Washington, Washington, Illinois,
Rutgers, Washington at home, and the next 2 on the road, all in 3.
If you can somehow win 2 out of 3 in those games, or, if you can go 3-0 in those games, like, that's how you can tell that this team has made a jump. Like, that's the portion of the schedule that I'm looking at where it's like, all right, I don't know if it's reasonable to think that you can beat Indiana or Oregon. Maybe on the right Saturday you can. But if you can win those 3 games, 2 of which against Illinois and Washington that have moved past you in the spot that you want to be in the Big Ten, there's real opportunity there. And then, of course, you finish with Ohio State and Iowa, and those are going to be difficult for different reasons. Iowa game is always one that this year was certainly an exception to it. But I think Nebraska has a 50-50 chance in that game all the time because of how the way that it gets played. Ohio State will be a challenge. But there is definitely a path, and I don't think this is what's going to happen necessarily, but there's definitely a path where Nebraska can be 8-4, make a step as a program, and make people say, hey, you know what? It's not the best that we've ever seen, but they are moving forward. I'll give them credit for that, and then we can get into the conversation of at some point you got to beat one of these better teams, blah, 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 blah. But if you can get to 8 wins out of that regular season, I think if you put that in front of people and you said Nebraska would be 8-4, it's like 90% of people are signing that right now?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
I think so. And most people listening to this is like, you're a moron. They're going to go 5-7.
Right. They might. They
absolutely might.
No,
but that's not to say there isn't a path for them, and there isn't things that they can change within their program. Like, they can be a better red zone team. They have mobility at quarterback. Let's see what that does for them when the field gets small. If the offensive line does take a step forward, that could be a big thing. We've all already collectively forgotten that in 2023, they had Tony White as their defensive coordinator in his first year, and everyone spent the entire offseason freaking out about the defensive line, only for Nash Hutmaker and Ty Robinson to emerge as huge strengths for this team. And they were already there. They just got better with different coaching and a different system. Can't say that isn't possible with some of the guys that are on the defensive line at this point. So there's pathways. They feel narrow, and they feel like a lot of them have to hit. But I would be lying to you, Jack, if I looked at this schedule and then thought immediately, Yeah, I think they're a 5-win team. I think they can do better than that. My biggest issue is, can they do enough to get out of that 6-win, 7-win territory? And I'm not sure the answer to that is yes.
Yeah, I had a sense that there were some who believed, and maybe I even thought this way, was that they're just doomed by this schedule, even if they take a step forward otherwise. And now that I actually look at the schedule, the problem, the biggest possible hindrance to them having a successful season is going to be the difficulty of just becoming a better team. It's not the schedule in my mind.
Well, the problem is them. Like, the problem is anyone they play. The problem is in
that's
the mirror.
Exactly what I think. And
we know this with this team.
Because if they go 5-7, it won't be because of the schedule. I mean, you're not going to be able to look back and because they're going to lose a bunch of games that even today you say, okay, as it stands right now, you'd be pretty disappointed if they lost, if they end up going 5-7. Because
now you'd have people push back and be like, well, they've kind of underachieved against the schedule 2 years in a row, and I wouldn't argue that. But it doesn't mean they have to again either. And
they very well may, but that's not because of the schedule. Again, that goes back to what I just said. It's not the schedule. It's about underachieving against teams that you should be in a better place than, that you would expect to. And so I'm confident that if they are a better team, the end of the year will reflect that, and you're not going to say, well, the schedule just prevented it this year. You could give them those 4 losses if you want to. Give them Indiana, at Oregon, Ohio State, and at Iowa, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And the Iowa one you said might even be, of course, Nebraska may be likely to lose it, but it feels like a little bit of a stretch to count it as a loss at this point. But even if you did that, right, you still have eight games they're not a possibility of failure because they're so difficult in terms of the schedule. So again, it's about them. It's not about the schedule for this year.
I want to point this to your attention. I don't know if you've thought about this. Nebraska has come out that they're going to play Providence at the Mohegan Sun
I saw this.
in Atlantic City. Do you know when those games take place?
No.
It's in relatively early to medium-ish November. You know who Nebraska plays in that time? They're out at Rutgers. Could it be a Nebraska takes over New Jersey week? Could we be talking about the I-80 Club going on the road to the boardwalk?
The I-80 Road Show Jersey Shore edition.
Yeah, this is a real possibility. I'm just putting it in your ear. As one of the founders of this thing, if you'd like me to be out in Jersey during this time to be on location for a massive basketball game against Providence and a football game against Rutgers, I think that's a real possibility. So you just consider it. We'll see what the date comes in at.
I mean, it'd be a nice contrast to the Sioux Falls trip for my November basketball trip last year.
Yeah.
So I like it. And we've had some, I'm thinking we may have an announcement next week about the first ever I-80 Road Show. Things are moving very quickly. You wondered why I was really cheering for Oklahoma City and St. Louis. There's more to it than just home, than drivable for a bunch of fans. And so, yeah, stay tuned. Stay tuned on that one.
No,
especially if you're gonna plan on going. Yes.
All right. Well, before we get there, it is that part of the show where we do blind rankings.
I don't even know what we're doing. What are we doing?
Yeah, I didn't tell you. I am very, very interested in how this is going to go. Here is what you are ranking today. The type of people that annoy you on Twitter.
Ooh.
This is the topic.
Delightful topic.
This is about you specifically, based on what I know about you, based on prior conversations, based on the type of people that have been in your mentions or have quote tweeted you or have attempted to throw you to the wolves or have suffered through as you hit them with your 12 tweet rants. These are the people that Jack Mitchell has found himself annoyed by, has battled with, has thought about in ways that he spends more time thinking about than he does extended members of his family. How is he going to rank them Let's get started. 1 through
real
5.
quick,
You know how this goes.
One clarification is the ranking based on, so is 1 the one that I most detest?
Most detest.
Okay, so 1 is the most. Okay, so the most annoying.
5 is the mosquito bite compared to 1 being the gunshot.
So it's just it's the most annoying people on Twitter according to Jack. Got it.
Yes. People who correct you on Twitter.
Oh man, this is
like, and what I mean by this is when you have a typo, when you have whatever, something along those nature, like it's a factual inaccuracy, that kind of thing.
A typo one I don't mind, but assuming I don't understand something and doing the actual
there's more of that coming.
Okay, a typo.
I'll rein you in a little bit here.
All right,
this is more factual inaccuracy. You're being told that you are wrong because you are factually inaccurate, or you just have a typo.
I don't know. I think I'm going to open that up at 5. That doesn't get my dander up all that much, and given my frequency of mistakes, sometimes it can be helpful. So I will say 5.
How would you describe dander? I use dander to Matt McMaster, who had never heard the word before.
I don't know why we say get your dander up, because isn't dander the stuff in pets that gives you allergies?
Is that what dander is?
Pet dander? Isn't that like what it is?
I
don't really know the evolution of the.
I use it. I struggled to explain it to him.
McMaster didn't know that.
He did not know it.
Hold on. Let me. What does get your dander up mean? Where it came from? It was a word first seen in writing in America, 1831. Dander stood for dandruff. So when your dander's up, it means you're so angry it's brought the dandruff off your scalp.
Oh, look at that!
Gross. That's
We're learning.
Gross. I'm never going to say that again.
We are moving on. People who quote tweet you on Twitter and assume you don't know what you're discussing.
And assume I don't know what I'm talking about, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. That's higher. That's higher. But I think you still have some real characters in this group still. I'm going to put that at 3 because I am still anticipating some real things that fire me up. So I will put that at 3.
People who attempt to tell you Nebraska is bad as if you're not aware of this already.
There we go. That's either 1 or 2. How much work is there? Something that makes me more angry, and specifically, let me add, Nebraska fans who tell me that when I mention anything, and let me give you a classic. Oh, I better not do this because you might have this person that I'm thinking of in a similar but slightly separate category. I really want to get number 1 right, and I still think it can get worse, but that's up there. I will go with 2.
2. Okay. So here's where we're at. People who correct you on typos or factual inaccuracies. 5.
Correct.
People who quote tweet you on Twitter and assume you don't know what you're discussing. 3.
Yes.
People who attempt to tell you Nebraska is bad if you're not aware of this. 2. Where will people who actually you on Twitter with you're making your opinion, you're making your statement on whatever it is, and they just come by and they actually you as if they know more than you.
I wish. Okay, I'm already regretting one of my, because I'd like to put this at 3. I don't think it's quite high enough, but 4 is too low. But I feel like your last one is going to be a doozy. There are still some doozies out there. This is too low, but I'm going to have to put this at 4 because I didn't leave the right spot.
You're taking a gamble here, and I don't know how you're going to feel on this one. People who attempt to interrupt your efforts to feel miserable on Twitter. Sometimes you're just letting it all out there, and people keep popping in, and they're just weighing in when you just want to go with it.
That's annoying. You're right. That probably wouldn't be 1, but that's certainly annoying. All right. Well, I have no choice now. That's got to be 1. I'm not sure what I was waiting for exactly, but it feels like there's still several.
I thought people who attempt to tell you Nebraska is bad if you're not aware of this.
I mean, that was very close to 1. That's very, very close to one. Let me put, if you had given it a very specific spin of that variety, because there are branches off of each one of these. I should make this into like a visual aid for people.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But there is very specifically the person when I pick at teams I don't like, when I give
who tell you that they beat Nebraska
Deion,
recently?
I give Deion Sanders hell, or I make, in other years I made, Creighton, made fun of Creighton or Iowa, which is what I do. This is sort of the fun of sports. Bookmark that for later in the show. And then a Nebraska fan comes along. And they're like, well, they beat us every time. That person, I want to, drives me insane. What are you doing? What in the hell are you doing? Look at yourself in the mirror right now. If you got on Twitter to tell a fan of the same team not to give crap to their rivals or teams they don't like, even independently of them. There is no mutual exclusivity. Let me get it on the record now. I've said it in tweet, but now I've got thousands of people watching me, hopefully. Both things can be true. My team can suck, can lose to a team. That team can still do something funny or annoying or anything that deserves mocking. And they will be by me. I do not need to have, one does not have to be a precursor for the other to be true. It is not an A implies B or A is necessary for B. A and B are separate things. A can be true or false, and B still can be true. End.
I regret not having that in there with a little bit more.
I need to think of the characters that you didn't include, so I can make an entire list, because I do like that. I do like the thought of having all of, because I can just go to. Yeah, it's like almost like a personality profile, and I can be like, oh, you're a 4B. I see where we're going with this.
I love it.
This is great. Thank you. I love this.
That's actually what you respond to him with.
All of
yes. Congrats on being a 7.
Yeah, and then I can like kind of break down percentages, how many people. It's like the ENTJ test, that sort of a thing. What kind of a Jack Mitchell Twitter opponent are you? Take the test.
This is fantastic. I love it. All right, let's get to a little bit of feedback. Not a lot this week. The emails have been quiet. We're still building up in that regard, and I haven't done a great job always soliciting stuff. But we did get this question from Royals Girl 21 on the Discord. Which, by the way, if you are not a member of the Discord, you are doing yourself a disservice. Great conversations on a variety of topics. You can weigh in with people who love Nebraska as much as you do. A lot of people living through Nebraska. If you're out of the area, it's a great way to just be in contact with people who love the same team that you do. I mean, it makes you feel like you're part of the community, even if you live in a far-flung place that isn't part of the bubble. That's part of the joy of these things.
100%. And our Discord, a bunch of people went to a UNO hockey game together. Just people they had met, become friends. Saw some pictures for that. That looked like a lot of fun. And the other thing is, if you do patreon.com/IID Club and you do be a member of the community tier, you also get all of our bonus shows. Josh and I are doing a new, Mike, we just decided that this morning, we are doing a new format of a bonus show immediately following Saturday morning coffee. Josh saves some of the premium information that he sometimes gets for these shows. And so we will close the public show. We will go to the premium post-game show where Josh apparently has some nuggets. I don't know what they are. And then what we often do too is we say, all right, the floor is yours. Any questions, any topics, anything you want. And we throw it open to everyone. So we will be doing that immediately after the Saturday morning coffee show. I think coffee show will start at 9, so that'll start at 10, I believe. But watch our social media and the YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you'll find out when all those happen. So that's another benefit of the whole thing. And there'll be more to come too.
Saturday morning coffee show is quickly becoming one of the staples of this whole thing. I noticed that we've had quite a bit of audience for that here as of late. So check that out.
I mean,
tomorrow.
It's no Nebrasketball hour, but it's getting there.
Yeah, well, nothing else is. We're all chasing the Nebrasketball hour. And that's kind of the way I like it. All right. Here's what Royals Girl 21 writes. She asks, who's the MVP of Nebrasketball today? And who do you think needs to be MVP at the end of the season for this to go?
Wow. That's a great question.
So
I would have said
tough.
3 different people already this year throughout the season. Because there was one
different
point
sections of the season have been, run by somebody else.
Like there was one point where I would have definitely said Mast at the beginning of the year. Now, in the moment, it's hard not to say Price Sanford, I think.
But then there's that section that encompasses the game-winning shot between Illinois and the game-winning shot against, what was it? Was it Indiana or Ohio State? One of those two, where it's Jamarcus Lawrence.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Every game, you have a 5 different, legitimately 4 or 5 different guys. If you just say MVP of this game, MVP of this game, you're going to have 4 or 5 guys who probably have multiple. And so, and here's the crazy thing. When Rink Mast was out of the Michigan game, I was so concerned about that game because I thought, look, even if he's not scoring 18 points or if he's cold shooting, I just think his lack of presence is going to necessarily change what the team is able to do on both sides of the court. Turns out not that much, I guess. Well, so, I don't mean that as a rip to him, but like I overestimated how much taking him away would impact the way that they play.
You definitely felt him in the second half with the tired legs, the inability to keep them from crawling all over your guards and Berkay on the down low with the rebounds. I mean, just having him there, there's very little doubt in my mind that even if he had only played like 10 minutes in each half, you get a very small amount of rink mass. Nebraska wins that game almost going away. I just don't think they have the same success on the boards. I think he presents such a different picture for them to have to cover or have to play. And that even includes the fact that Leo Curtis had the best game of his season. He showed us those baby little left-handed hooks with such soft, beautiful touch. In all seriousness, like we might look back at that moment and not having rink mass and losing that game, but that's a guy I hope sticks around because I want to see what he can be. I think there's a lot of enthusiasm about what he can do and how he can play, and he's still got to grow into being the player that he needs to be physically. But as this thing with Nebraska goes forward, it's guys like that you really want to make sure that they're there for that second year, just so you get a better look at it. Yeah. And I thought those minutes could be really valuable. He might be needed against Illinois if Rink is either unavailable or a little bit under the weather still, and you can't play him as much. But
it was among
be lost in it.
It was among the many times in that game, especially in the first half, but in that whole game where I was in disbelief in that game, which you may say, oh, ye of little faith. But listen, when I heard Mast was out in that game, my expectation was a 15, 20 point loss. It really was. And I don't think that's unreasonable just because you shorten the rotation so much. I thought Mast, again, like I just said, I think it's so much harder to do, especially offensively, what you do without him, at least in there for a portion of the time. But I did not have on my bingo card Leo Curtis going 3 for 4. I did not have Cale Jacobson doing what he did in that game, which we talked about at the beginning of the game. I did not have Jamarcus Lawrence going just on fire at the beginning of the game as well. And I didn't have them playing defense against their bigs nearly as well. I didn't have any of that on the whole thing. So there was just time after time. I just walked out of the room. I could not, in a season of what has already seemed like a dream, that game individually, and I know they lost, and I don't count it as a moral victory or anything, but within watching that game, I don't know what your reaction to it was, Mike, during the game. I didn't even cheer, not because I was upset. I was like I'd seen a ghost when I was watching that game. At times.
I mean, not that I already didn't think this, but it just reinforced the fact that what we're witnessing is almost an out-of-body experience as a sports fan. And so you just crave that you continue to get this, that it continues to look like this, that, you want to maximize every opportunity you have when you have a team that you think in your heart of hearts is as good as anybody that they can play on the court. I mean, I'm no college basketball expert, but if Michigan is supposed to be the best team in basketball the way that they were discussed and the way they have been discussed. And Nebraska made them look lazy and sloppy and, quite frankly, stupid. And they needed every bit of thing to be in their favor to win a game by 3 points at home on a Tuesday night. I mean, I don't know what else to think other than Nebraska basketball is absolutely for real, and they're going to come and take your lunch money. And it's not a matter of, if, it's a matter of when. And here they are.
I felt that way. I felt better about a 20-1 Nebraska than I did a 20-0 Nebraska after that game.
Yeah.
And
I never even thought that was possible.
And that does not equate to a moral victory. Those are two.
Right, yeah, I don't even know what you're saying.
I don't even know.
I don't think that's what you're saying at all.
Yes, this is not an emotional celebration thing. This is an objective fact. I feel more confident about the team coming out of that game than I did going into the game, which was very confident given they were, 20-0 and beat everyone.
Right. Well, I think it just told you that there is no ceiling to what this team is capable of doing.
Yes, that's probably the biggest thing. And to what you just said about Michigan, I had a rather viral clip from the Nebrasketball hour that Michigan fans got a hold of, where I basically said in a loud voice during that show, where I said, "Look, Michigan, you better hope to the God of college basketball that Nebraska is really good, because if they're not for real, you ain't for real after that game."
Yeah, I mean, good luck explaining anything to that fan base.
Oh my gosh, yes.
It's not even worth trying. It really isn't. All right, let's try to answer the question though, which we
So who does it need to be?
Yeah, who's the MVP right now? You'd say Bryce Sanford?
God, it's just the season seems
just give me an answer, Bryce Sanford or not Bryce Sanford or what?
The whole geez.
I will say Bryce Sanford. Because
you'll say Bryce Sanford. Yep. It's just I wouldn't have said that in big chunks of the first half of this.
Yeah, no, I get it.
So hard.
We're right now. You got all the information you have up until now.
I think there's an argument for Sam Hoiberg too.
Okay. Are you?
Oh, he's been the most. Good night. I hate this. I can't.
You would be impossible to have on any of these shows where you need to have a succinct answer to a question.
I am going to say, I'll capitulate. Bryce Sanford, but I don't know. I don't have I can't decide yet. I need to.
How about who it needs to be?
I kind of think it needs to be Rank Mast.
I'm with you, but here's what I'm excited about. I know that's in there. I know there's going to be a game where he will reach inside the soul of the other team and absolutely freaking crush it with 6 3-pointers and some great timely defense and just playing great basketball. Like, that is absolutely in there. I don't know if it's Purdue. I kind of thought we were going to get it for this upcoming Illinois game. I don't know.
I thought we get it in Michigan.
That's going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be against Iowa. I don't know if it's on the road out in Los Angeles when they play UCLA and USC, but there will be a game between now and the end of the regular season where Rick Mast establishes that he is absolutely someone that can just carry a team in a stretch of play that we've seen Bryce Sanford do. We've seen Jamarcus Lawrence do. We saw in the first half, we saw Sam Hoiberg do it. Rick Mast has done it at times, and he had some big shots already this season. That's not to say that he hasn't been a contributor. We've seen Frager do it at times against different teams. Rick Mast will have a game in the Big Ten where he just absolutely reminds you why he is that special of a player. That is coming.
He should have multiple. I would be
and he might. But I'm talking about that Ohio State game when he hit 7 threes and scored nearly 30 points on him a couple years ago.
I mean,
that's coming.
You could argue that happened, at least maybe not to the full extent, but it happened against Michigan State. It happened against Oklahoma. It happened against BYU. It happened against it's happened multiple times. It hasn't happened for a month though.
Yeah.
And we've almost forgotten that's a thing. Which is the crazy freaking thing about this team. They have eras of different ways within one season that they've been really good. Completely different eras. It's like a Taylor Swift tour. I'm going to build that's the next meme. There it is. The eras of this season for Nebraska basketball, the eras tour. Ooh, good idea,
all right.
Jack.
Here's a second question from Royals Girl 21. She asks, what's your preferred seat location at Pinnacle Bank Arena? What's your preferred seat location at Memorial Stadium? I'll answer Memorial Stadium if I can be in the press box so I can have some cookies be covered from the element, have the most sterile environment possible, and be able to see the entire field. That's my preferred seat. 100 out of 100 times.
I will never set foot in the press box during a game again.
That's fine. We don't want you.
I did like 3
and
or
I'd
4.
say we, as if I'm allowed back in there anytime soon.
I did like 3 or 4 years up there, and I regretted every second of it. At least they used to have an outdoor area I could walk to and yell behind the Spanish language Texas broadcast, but I don't even think they have that anymore. Memorial Stadium, I'll tell you what, if the weather is good, I will always take the East Stadium 600 level in the front.
Oh,
always. It is
okay.
I thought you
were going to say East Stadium balcony, so like below that.
No, the highest up front
wow.
in the very highest spot. I love the view, number one. Now it's bad if the weather's bad, but kind of everywhere is. If it's super windy, it can be rough. Or if you have one of those games where the sunset feels like it's never going to get down and you're right into the sun, that mitigates it a little bit. But in terms of view, that's the kind of view I like to have for a football game. I hate when you don't have depth perception because you're down too low. Number two, it has one of the worst things about going to Memorial Stadium is how tight everything is. It's not like that up there. It's like they built that and they gave everyone a little extra leg room, especially if you're in the front couple of rows, a little extra ass room. It feels like you can get to a bathroom, you can get to a concession stand, unlike almost anywhere else in that stadium, in 45 seconds from anywhere up there. It is, I hesitate to even mention this. It is the crown jewel of seats in that stadium and will always be my first choice.
All right, Pinnacle Bank Arena.
Pinnacle Bank Arena, give me, I mean, this is a more traditional answer. Give me about, well, it's some of the seats that I sometimes get a chance occasionally when I'm lucky to sit in, about 10 rows up, roughly center court or slightly off to the side of center court. It's looking at the benches, which is where I have a seat I sometimes have gotten to use for that. I'm knocking on wood I might get a chance to use it for Iowa.
I sit in, I don't even know what the section is, but I'm slightly, not really behind the basket, but where the student section goes up behind the basket, I'm off to the right of that. So I love them. I've gotten very used to that spot.
Are they the ones I went to a game with you several years ago? Are it still the same ones?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Same seats. And then I have sat center court because I have access to tickets that are over there. Occasionally I go for a game or two center court. It's amazing. It's honestly like anywhere in that 100 level is pretty fantastic for Nebraska basketball.
Yeah.
Like I don't know that there's, and then I've also been on the other side of it where when I bought tickets when the building first opened, we were in the 300s and in the second row, and the stupid ass bar was right in the viewpoint of me being able to watch. So you had to spend the entire game like this, looking up
because you were sitting at the
looking down, trying to get under. So that's the only place in that building where I've ever been like completely annoyed by the viewing experience. And those were season tickets that I had for a few years initially. Now I'm down in the hundreds. I love where we're at. I wouldn't really move. I like, part of it is there's like a good collection of regulars in the section that I'm in that I've gotten to know that know who I am, but I don't know anyone's name. And so I appreciate that. There's a bunch of high-fiving and celebrating and commiserating, and it's a nice community. I mean, that's part of it. And it's the first time I've ever really had that because I've never had consistent enough seats where other people would actually be at. And so we're probably 3 or 4 years into these seats now, and we've developed a pretty good community around us.
That's nice. I would enjoy that, and that's going to be the hard thing when they reseat all these places.
Yeah. Well, of course they're going to reseat because 1 year of success means all the people who actually go to games should get kicked out, so the people who just want to buy them and sell the tickets can have them.
I think there are a higher percentage of good seats in PBA than there are Memorial Stadium from a view.
100%.
The only ones I don't, listen, it's not terrible, but like I've sat in the top of I guess it would be the 100 level on directly behind a hoop. There's just some obstruction from the hoop that comes along with that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really an inconsistent experience based on which side of the floor that they're on. That doesn't matter nearly as much if you're up higher. I'd rather be up in the 300 level if I'm right behind a hoop, to be honest.
Have you ever sat courtside at a Nebraska men's conference game?
Yes, once. Last year I got that chance.
Yeah, I am telling people, if you ever get to sit courtside, it doesn't even have to be like a Big Ten level. I did it recently for UNO watching some Summit basketball. Sitting courtside is unbelievable for college basketball. It really is. Like the quickness in which everything happens in front of you.
Oh,
You are so much more aware of the spacing and how quickly things get shut down and everything else. Like the broadcast view and the traditional fan view that you have doesn't always show that when you are like right there up on it. It is a totally different game. I really think that.
I sat on the baseline. I went to the Illinois game last year that Nebraska won. And well, number one, it was awesome because you got to go to like this private club area before with a meal and like it was right after Danny Busboom Kelly got hired. So she's hanging out back there. John Cook's back there. Zach Taylor is back there. It's like
you're back there.
I'm back there. Obviously, none of them know who John Cook did, but none of the rest of them. So there was that. The actual sitting there, you've got like I guess I sat in it one other time this year for a really early season game. I basically had my foot up Michael Bruns's ass the entire time because those photographers are right in front of you there. And what you said about like the speed and all of that, it's a completely different perspective on the game. It looks when you're even going from the 10th or 12th row down to the first row gives a different perspective on that. The only thing is it's kind of like the volleyball baseline thing is it's hard to tell when you're down so low to get a kind of a horizontal perspective of where everyone is. It's just you're used to the TV angle and it's a little harder to perceive to sort of feel what's happening on the play from essentially the player and the coach's perspective. It looks super different, but it's a great, I mean, definitely would never complain about it. I hope someday I get a chance to do it again.
All right. I think I have something else to get to here from Twitter earlier today that involved someone's NBA Jam rankings of Nebraska basketball. How would you
all time?
First of all, no, not all time of this season. Like they were listing their 2-player rankings. Do you have any that would come to mind first? Like if you could take 2 of the current Nebraska basketball players, what's your
NBA Jam team?
Yeah.
Frager. You got to have a dunker. You got to have someone high in a dunk rating, and there's nobody else who's available for that. But who do you pair him with? Do you pair him with rank? Do you pair him? It feels like you got to have some size. Do you pair him with Berkey? Do you pair him, or do you pair him with a shooter? You pair him with Price. Maybe Frager and Price.
Justin tweeted at me earlier today, not just me, several others. But he goes, my NBA Jam Nebrasketball ratings: 1, Frager and Sanford; 2, Rink and Sanford; 3, Hoiberg and Mass; 4, Jacobson and Frager; 5, Lawrence and Mass.
Man, that's incredible.
Berkey never got in here. I think that's okay, but
I wouldn't sleep on Berkey. Well, I mean, listen, size is important in NBA Jam.
Especially when they grab the rebound and they shake,
Yes, size, toughness, blocking dunks. Berkey would be better than he's getting credit for if we're talking about specifically about NBA Jam. This is fascinating. I think I'm going now. I'm afraid you would hurt in that neighborhood if you did my Frager and Sanford team. So like there's a part of me that wants Rank on there because you can get the shooting. He would be a dynamic NBA Jam player because he can shoot. They would probably give him maybe a little better dunk rating than he probably because of his size.
Actually has, yeah.
Hakeem Olajuwon's still flying around in that game and doing flips and stuff. So
could you be sold on the Hoiberg and Mass connection?
Yes, yeah.
Could you get the Hoiberg defense? He can shoot the threes.
What's the shooting rating? I'm afraid his shooting rating is going to be too low. He's a better shooter. In fact, I don't think he shoots enough threes, to be honest. But which is sounds crazy to say. It depends what his 3-point rating is.
Okay. Well, that I can't tell you. Since
this gave me though. Oh my gosh, Mike, we might need to just do a special blow out an entire show for this special edition, maybe for subscribers. But what if we put together NBA Jam Husker teams where you can't put 2 people from the same era together or something like this? Oh my gosh, this would be amazing. First of all, or NBA Jam draft. You're building NBA Jam teams. To me,
you're pairing Taran Petaway and Mikey Moore together.
Yes, yeah. Okay, NBA real quick. NBA Jam draft right off the top. I know who my top pick is right away. For your pick? If we had, it'd be sweet. You got 10 dudes and we did an NBA Jam Husker draft. We had some rules like about who you could combine, and like they couldn't be on, at least they couldn't have played on the same team, maybe.
Yeah. Do you want like the team that I would put together?
Who would be your first? I'm curious who your first overall pick would be, because I think there's a clear one.
I'm sure there is, but the problem is that my frame of reference is going to be more tilted towards the current day than it
That's
would
okay.
be.
Mine is in a current day, or not the current era within the last decade.
Yeah. Okay. My NBA Jam first pick, it'd be tough to go against Petaway, but I think I'd go James Palmer.
Oh, wow. I took one of James Palmer's teammates. I don't know how you don't take Isaiah Roby first in NBA Jam.
Yeah, I mean, it's
blocks,
possible.
Dunks, a little shooting. Sean Kemp on NBA Jam was a problem.
But isn't he going to spend the entire time wondering how good he is?
No, they don't. I don't think that's part of the program.
He's not going to have some existential crisis about whether he's going to hit a ceiling.
Like
or
he
not
can't get on. He can't get on fire as fast as other players because he doesn't know he's capable of doing it.
It's interesting, but Roby wasn't one of the ones that I really was even considering. It's a great pick. It really is. It just was not someone that I was on at that point in time.
Like, there's a part of me that would like to go like Roby and Piatkowski or something. Ooh, ooh.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking either, I had said Petaway and Mikey Moore, but like either Petaway or Palmer combined with Vincent Hamilton. Like, give me the shot blocking and then the scoring and then the alley-oop dunking potential there. I like that quite a bit.
How about Teron Lou Alex Marich?
I mean, if you're BC, do you go Jamel White and Dave Hoppin?
Only if you have 4 roster spots. Oh my gosh. I want to do this. NBA Jam. And there's got to be some kind of programmer who can make this for us. NBA Jam Nebrasketball edition.
It's got to be. But look, I don't know if it's NBA Jam, but I'm guessing the Lego guy can get us our starting lineups if we get them over to him.
I'm going to put out the definitive rankings, which everyone will tear apart. That's the point. The definitive rankings and then the definitive teams but we got to agree on what the rules are. Is it just that they can't have ever been teammates, or do they have to play under a different coach?
I like the idea of they have to have been under a different coach, because then you really force different eras together.
Okay.
But then you can't do like, I don't know how. Yeah, I mean, there's I guess enough there. With
you could still have teammates then technically too if you had crossovers, but right? I mean, listen, where does Bryce McGowan's go in this whole thing?
Certainly in there.
Where's Delano Banton go?
I don't know if I would be drafting him. Like what? He's not that good of a shooter. He was a really good passer. He made the NBA. It's not to say that he isn't a good player. It's just, is there like a skill that I'm like super enamored by here?
I don't know. Maybe we should do it in auction form.
Who would be the best NBA Jam out of the Doc Sadler era is really the question here. And why is it Miles Hawley?
It's not. I would always be tempted.
Alex Chapman?
I probably would I would overvalue Cookie Miller. I can tell you that right now. He would be moved too high on the list. But
do you remember Kyle Marks? Is it Kyle Marks?
Kyle Marks
he could jump out of the gym.
Yeah, Chris Ballum.
Oh man.
Ooh, Siobhan Shields. Is he a top fiver? Ooh.
I could think of. Yeah, I mean he's got a lot going there.
Seriously, if we start a new I-80 club property in the next 2 weeks, it is going to be something that is nothing but different avenues to name in Nebraska basketball players. Every show is going to be a different version of the same conversation of guys naming dudes of Nebraska basketball players. and that's the show.
It's just different context of doing it.
And I guarantee it's gonna beat everyone's show if we do this. Yes, different every time. It's a different sort of situation for that.
We run long here on Fridays, but I don't want to leave before giving you the opportunity to tell you or tell the people about what's been annoying Jack Mitchell this
Thank
week.
you.
And I think it's going to have something to do with things going online with Nebraska basketball and everyone coming after him.
To some degree, I've got a sports one, I've got a media one, and I've got a life one this week.
All right,
I appreciate the sports one, and it is to some degree. It has to do with what you alluded to. I have been a bit flabbergasted by the reaction to the Michigan game. And when I've heard either local media or national media or anything talk about it, and either don't really even mention or not give significant attention to the fact that Nebraska was massively shorthanded in that game. It is the fact when I say that I feel better about them at 20-1 than I do at 20-0, I would not have felt that way had they played full strength in that game. The fact that they did what they did shorthanded was what made it against the odds-on national championship favorite, which has got ridiculous size, which is blowing out teams like freaking Gonzaga by 40.
I mean, they go 9 deep even when they're not having to go,
I don't think anyone is making nearly enough of a big deal about the fact that Nebraska led that game on the verge of wire to wire. I don't know, 90% of the game, maybe a little less than that, with a team that, yes, had good players on it, but had a tiny bench, had no bench, had basically 5 guys who got significant minutes during the entire game, was wildly undersized, were without, in a lot of games, 2 of their 3 best scoring threats on the entire team. And yet this is your king, Michigan. This is what we've got. As in November, I hear people talking about them like they're the 92 Dream Team. What? I'm so baffled by the lack of inclusion of that. John Rothstein put out a video last night, and he was the first person who really, from the national perspective, said this was incredible that they were able to hang in given how shorthanded they were. So the lack of either understanding or discussion of that has been bizarre to me as I've tried to find content about
but
that
they've
game.
only played the worst teams in the Big Ten, Jack. So how much credit do they
deserve? That was just rough. That's just there've been some bad decisions made by that company over the last few months, I think we can say wholeheartedly.
I would agree.
Wholeheartedly. And that was just trying to put some content together without actually having prepared for it. Anyway, I hope people weren't too mean to her. That was crazy. So that wasn't even it. So that was number 1. Number 2. And I hate to do this. I should not do this. This is against my better judgment. I should not start media wars.
Ooh.
But and people are going to say, Jack, you're just jealous. You're like the cheating. You're like the person Mike's having an affair with, and you're complaining about the things that his wife does. How can I put it in a kind way? Why is Connor acting like he just arrived on Earth and was new to basketball fandom in the last week?
I can't answer for him.
And I know people listening may not have heard the whole context, and you may have to go back and listen, but I'm walking my dog. What day was it? Monday, Tuesday, whatever day it was.
Yeah.
And there was a conversation about Nebraska fans and Creighton fans and the way that they interact. And none of my theory was that he doesn't like Nebraska or anything like that. It was more sort of like the lack of awareness of what's been going on for, I don't know, 15 years pretty solidly on social media. And as if it was discovered yesterday. I was taken a bit aback by some of the naivete, maybe. I'm not sure how to even say it, but I was yelling into the air. My neighbors were looking at me. But in case there's anyone out there who does not know, I guess I'll just say this. I think on behalf of Creighton fans too, and if they don't want to be lumped in, they don't have to. But it turns out that a lot of the trash talk these two sides have given to each other over the years has been not necessarily reasonable, not necessarily comports with the facts of the world. Sometimes it seems out of nowhere. Sometimes they seem like they're, for instance, one year I was at Christmas Eve service and I got, for some reason, a barrage of mean tweets, trolling tweets about Nebraska basketball on Christmas Eve. I don't know if something got retweeted or what it was. It's the norm. This is what happened. This is not new, not close to new. And no one is going to, if Creighton isn't, I don't expect Creighton fans, by the way, just to be clear, to make sure I'm even-handed on this, I don't admit them after this season is over and we go into the year next year. And if Creighton would beat Nebraska, they're like, I do want to say while we won that game, it was a really impressive, respectable performance that you put on last year. And therefore, what I'm going to do is scale back some of my critique of you as a program because of what happened in that situation.
So what I'm understanding correctly, you are saying the Nebraska-Creighton rivalry is not like Nebraska-Oklahoma, which is, of course, built on respect and mutual admiration. But there's a twinge of just go fuck yourself. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess. It's not even that me. I think we can all band together, Nebraska and Creighton fans, and be like, this is kind of what we've been doing, right? Is kind of when I saw on the chat during the post game of Michigan, and someone was like, "Oh, Creighton's down by 40 at halftime." I was like, "Oh, interesting." Right here I am. And when Nebraska goes, if and when they would go to hell, I would expect nothing but the same. Even if it's a devastating loss in the NCAA tournament, I would expect not a recognition of the fine season that they've had, but some kind of joy in their sadness.
It would be plausible that should Nebraska not make the Big Ten tournament, for instance, someone might make a parody song about this.
Yes. Very possible.
I think that happened.
Did it? Okay. I might have missed that one.
Yeah.
So anyhow, I felt like, you know what it felt like? It felt like it was Christmas and the whole family was there and they were having dinner and they got into an argument. The family gets into an argument about politics or something, and it's Christmas and I felt like Connor is like the mom and just be like, guys, it's Christmas. Can we not fight? You're ruining can we just be together and enjoy this moment? It happens once a year. And the answer is no, Mom, we can't. Someone will always be ready. No matter what happens, we'll always be ready. Number 3 is people who insist on phone calls when a text would do. Okay. If I text you and you call me back, I text you with a specific question and you say, hey, can I give you a call about this sometime? I'm frustrated with you. I'm sorry. At very least say, give me some detail on why this has to be transferred to a call situation. Or when I email you and you ask me to have a call after it with no further information. That drives me insane. Phone calls that I swear are transferred to phone calls because of some kind of, it's kind of condescending in a way. Oh, well, I remember when people had face-to-face conversations and everything didn't have to be, electronic and quick. Well, Yes, to some degree, that's true. But there are also, like every technology, there's good things. And that means I can find out right freaking now what you wanted. I don't have to talk to you on the phone for a half hour. It drives me insane. There are people out there that just they won't text you back. They won't give you, it's like under lock and key, and you've got to do the performative, we have a phone call because we like the olden times whole act. Sometimes, yes, phone calls are necessary. Some conversations you can only have via phone. Of course, that is not true of all of them. Finn.
What if I was driving and you sent the text and it was much safer for me to just give you the phone call right away?
That's when I get a lot from my wife. I get that. I mean, the amount of times, and I think we're safe with her not watching this one. No offense. The amount of times I will send her a text and 30 seconds later I get a phone call, and as soon as I see it, I'm like, just why? Why? It's a question. There's a textable answer. Can we do it that way?
I
don't know why that annoys me so much. It drives me nuts.
Yeah. I kind of get it, because sometimes you just want an answer. I like the corollary to this for me is if someone calls and I miss it and I call them back like within 30 seconds and then they don't answer, that drives me insane. I'm very okay with phone calls. So like if someone wants to just call and talk rather than like send 15 texts to get to the bottom of whatever we're doing, I'm okay with that. But there's definitely the time where it's like someone just needs a quick answer. You just hit it on text. You don't have to call them. So I think I'm more just in the middle of it. Like I'm totally okay with phone calls pretty much any time though.
Yeah. Or even some people will take it to a further extreme. Hey, why don't we go get lunch on this? Okay, no, this is not. No, let's just do long emails to each other.
Since you've been talking about this, I've been doing the mental calculus as if I am one of these people that has done this to you.
I don't think
I have invited you to lunch.
I mean,
but I don't know it was in the context of you having a question that you needed answered right away. I think I just wanted to hang out with you.
It's like, no, yeah, if you want to hang out, that's great. I like that. But if it's a conversation or a discussion that you need to have, usually about something professional in nature, it's like, well, let's just.
You don't want to do it over a sandwich and chips?
It's not not usually, especially if I can get it faster without the lunch.
Amazing. We have set a new record here at Unemployed for longest podcast. I think this was the odds-on favorite. If any of the show was going to go, if any of the show was going to go long, it would be the Feedback Friday. And
I know.
Here we are, but it was worth it. We got in some NBA Jam ratings of Nebraska's roster. We discussed the big game they have coming up on Sunday, and of course, we went through a little bit of our initial thoughts on Nebraska's schedule. Thank you, everyone, for checking out Unemployed. Thank you, Jack, for joining once again on Friday. It's been 4 straight weeks of this. It is a hit in my mind. I think it's a hit for everybody else, too.
Well, that's all that's important, Mike, for us. Whatever works in your mind. That's the success. That's the success we were looking for when we're
good up here, then it's going to be good out there. That's how I view it. That's how it works,
Those are the only metrics we'll be looking at.
Who needs physical cash when it's already good in your brain?
You know what? Maybe we ought to have lunch, Mike.
To discuss this?
Yeah.
I think we could. Do you want to meet in Ashland?
Yeah.
We'll make that work. All right, everybody. We will be back on Monday. Caleb Henry will join. Of course, we'll be giving out free advice. We'll be going through that Nebraska-Illinois game. We'll have plenty of football to talk about as well. Calendar flips to February, but we're still unemployed, and we'll still be here at noon. See you then.